Hey all. I just am going to record a quick joints lab video for you. One of your classmates shared that I don't have a video just specifically for the labs. There is probably some of the joints lab included in my review session, but let me just walk you through where you're going to go for all the joints materials and then just walk you through some of these joints. Thankfully, the joints are very easy because for lab, you just have to know the ligaments that are going to be going across or spanning across those joints. And the ligaments are going to be named after the two bones that they attach to. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this lab page. You'll see here, I have a PowerPoint on joints. That'll be kind of your first place to go as you're kind of getting familiar with the joints. So I'm going to pull this PowerPoint up here for you. And then we're just going to kind of go through the joints together. So the first, basically the first set of ligaments that you're going to have to know are for the hip or the coxal joint. And again, this is great because if you know the names of the bones of the os coxa as well as the femur, then it's going to make it really easy for you to know these ligaments. So if you look here, this ligament here is spanning from a portion of the ilium to the femur. So hence the name is iliofemoral ligament, right? This is like the joints are beautiful because they're actually, the names make sense. And that doesn't always happen in anatomy, but it's really nice when it does. So you can see here, this one's the part of the iliofemoral ligament, again, going from the ilium to the femur. This one here, if you look, is going from the pubic ramus, so from that part of that pubic bone, over to the femur. So we call it pubofemoral ligament. And then here, remember the third bone of the os coxa. So we already had the ilium, we have the pubis, now we have the ischium. So going from the ischium, and here's the ischial tuberosity right here. So going from the ischium to the femur is the ischiofemoral ligament. So again, very easy, very nice that these ligaments are named after those bones. So as long as you know the bones and some of those features, then you're going to be fine with these ligaments. So again, here's just a different view of this. You can see again, going from, this is the ilium, right? All the way here. This is all the ilium. So here is the iliofemoral ligament. This is a little bit nicer because you can see the separation here of the pubofemoral ligament from the iliofemoral ligament. So here, this is going, this right here is part of that pubic ramus. So again, going from the pubis bone to the femur, the pubofemoral ligament. Okay. So those are fairly easy. I'll show you some different models in just a minute so that you can make sure that you familiarize yourself with more than one model, because sometimes it does look a little different from model to model. But again, just try to look at what two bones are those ligaments connecting. That's your big key here. For the knee joint's a little more complicated because we have these large pieces of connective tissue called the meniscus in here. And so we'll cover the knee joint. We also have some extra ligaments in here. So the easiest one right now is to see, this is actually the quadriceps tendon. So when you learn about the four large muscles in the anterior portion of the upper leg, those are going to be the quadricep muscles. Many of you probably already know that. And all of those muscles are going to come together into the quadricep tendon, which is going to attach to the patella. And now from the patella, so remember, if you have an attachment of a muscle to a bone, that's through a tendon. So tendons attach muscle to bone. But if it's bone to bone, then it's ligament. So here, running from the patella to the tibia, actually the tibial tuberosity, now that you know that, is going to be the patellar ligament. Okay, so again, that's why it's called the patellar ligament, because it's running from bone to bone. Now, you're also going to have these two what we call collateral ligaments, one on the lateral side and one on the medial side. So one is called the lateral collateral ligament, and then one is going to be called the medial collateral ligament. You may have also heard these called the LCL or the MCL. Okay. You can also use the name of the bone instead. So if you want to call it the fibular collateral ligament, because this one here is going between the fibula and the femur here. So it just depends. I typically use lateral collateral ligament because that's just what I grew up with, I'm most comfortable with, but you can pick which one you are most comfortable with. I will tell you though that in most medical settings, they do tend to use lateral collateral ligament and medial collateral ligament, or MCL, LCL. So if you look here, this is the lateral collateral ligament, and you know that it's lateral because this is the fibula. You should know that the tibia is going to be more medial and the fibula is going to be more lateral. Okay. So this also tells you that this is the right knee, if you could like orient it to yourself. Okay. And then this large piece of connective tissue here is going to be the lateral meniscus. Okay. And so it's going to basically sit kind of on top of this lateral condyle. Okay. And you'll see that you also have a medial meniscus. So here on the medial side is the medial meniscus. And then you have the medial collateral ligament. Again, if you want, you can call it the tibial collateral ligament because it's going to the tibia. But like I said, you're more likely in a medical setting to hear medial collateral ligament or MCL. Let me move myself out of the way here. Now you've also probably heard of the anterior cruciate ligament and the posterior cruciate ligament. And again, cruciate being cross-like. So these ligaments are going to run across the knee joint. So obviously the posterior cruciate ligament is going to attach here posteriorly. You're going to see it here, most of the ligament on the posterior side. And then the anterior cruciate ligament, you just see this tiny portion of insertion here, but the origin you'll see on the other side. So again, the posterior cruciate ligament, you're going to see most of that on the posterior side, and then I'll show you the anterior cruciate ligament. You're going to see the most of that ligament on the anterior side. And then here again, on the lateral side, you're going to have the lateral collateral ligament and the lateral meniscus there. So let's go ahead and go to the next. Oh, I don't have, I'll show you another one of the knee joint in just a minute. I don't have a good one here that shows the anterior cruciate ligament, but I will show you on another set of models. I'll show you where you can see the anterior cruciate ligament just a little bit better. Now, for the lab quiz, please put the full name, anterior cruciate ligament, instead of just ACL. I know that ACL is commonly used as a shorthand for that ligament in a medical setting, but we do want you to know like what the terms mean, and it's anterior cruciate ligament, that it's again starting in the anterior. Most of that ligament is the anterior portion of the knee, and it's running across cruciate, that knee joint, and then attaching to this lateral condyle here on the femur. Okay, so let's talk about the shoulder joint here. Again, the shoulder joint, as long as you know that this is the acromion process, this is the clavicle, and then the coracoid process you'll see right up here. Okay, as long as you know those processes, makes the ligaments really easy. So for example, here, this is running from the acromion process to the clavicle. So it's called the acromioclavicular ligament. Okay. This one here, this ligament right here, is running from the humerus, or I should say from the coracoid process to the humerus. So we call this the coracohumeral ligament. So again, these ligaments are just beautifully named, and it makes it really nice and easy to remember. This one here is running from, again, what would be that glenoid cavity. So you can see, remember the glenoid cavity is where that ball of the humerus is going to fit in that joint. And so oops, let me pull that, sorry, back up here. That glenoid cavity is going to be in part of the name. And so you can see it's running across most, again, what would be the glenoid cavity there. It's a very large ligament. So it's called the glenohumeral ligament. Okay. So again, sorry, I don't know what that's doing there, but there, so that's the glenohumeral ligament, and it's a very large ligament. So let me go ahead. That's my PowerPoint just to introduce you to those ligaments. Now, if you would like another study resource, and I think this one is nice because it gives you a different point of view, and some of the models actually show you a little bit more on some of these models versus our original models that are in my PowerPoint. So you're going to click on this one here. I already have it pulled up. This is on under the web albums joint models, and it's going to pull. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Let me go back here. I'm going to keep that one up because that one's kind of handy. But you can go here to the joint models. You can scroll down. And we have a lot of the joint models that you just looked at. Oh, it's not linking. Maybe that one is not properly linked anymore. I'll take a look at that one. I wonder if they pulled those joint models out of that and put them in this other section. So sometimes they're kind of moving things around in these the Google Photos, because we use these Google Photos for all of the 201 labs. But if you go down to other helpful study tools, open up the bone labeling exercise for joint models. This one's a really great one. And then I'm going to show you how to orient them. I already turned this one and it looks like it saved my settings. But you can change the orientation of each of these pages. So originally, I believe it was, and sideways, really hard to look at. And just use this rotate clockwise button, and it'll rotate the image clockwise for you, which is a nice little feature when you're trying to learn the bones. It's already hard enough not having them in your hands, but having to try to rotate them makes it even more challenging. So initially, again, this is going to try to point you to some of these major bones, so you know which bones are going to be involved here. So we've got the clavicle here, we've got the scapula here, we've got the humerus. And then here you have the coracoid process, right? And then here you're going to have the acromion process. So here, again, this ligament is going to be called the acromioclavicular ligament because it's going from this acromion process to the clavicle. So again, when you're looking at these joint models, the very first thing you want to do is orient yourself on the bones, okay? This is the clavicle. This is the acromion process. This is the coracoid process. So you know exactly where these ligaments are going, which two bones are going between, and then you know their name, okay? So here, this one's a little bit harder to see because it's hard to see that it's actually attaching at the base of this bone right here. So it's the coracoacromial ligament. So again, it's, or sorry, this one right here. So this one's easier. I'm sorry, I was pointing to the coracohumeral one here. So the coracohumeral one here is hard to see, and we probably won't give you this view because you can't tell that it's attaching to this coracoid process, right? But this one's going from here to the humerus, so it's the coracohumeral ligament. This one here is going from the coracoid process to the acromion process. So it's the coracoacromial ligaments. So again, nice that they have the names that they do. Here you're going to see this ligament kind of is separated into two parts. So here, because the glenohumeral ligament is giant, so it basically goes from most of that glenoid cavity here, kind of across the top of it, to the humerus. So again, that's called that glenohumeral ligament. And it's a nice one to orient yourself to because it's so big. So, you know, when you're looking at the joints right away and you see this big giant ligament, you can be like, okay, that's the glenohumeral ligament. And then you can kind of go from there. And that really does, I think, help to give yourself an orienting point. Okay, so let's look at the ligaments of the knee. The knee is always a fun one. So again, orient yourself to the bones. This is the femur, tibia. This is the fibula. Fibula is going to be on the lateral side. Okay, so you should know that by now. Tibia is going to be on the medial side. So that makes this very easy. This is lateral collateral ligament. The one on the other side is going to be the medial collateral ligament. That means this is the lateral meniscus here. And then this is going to be the medial meniscus here. Okay. Here, running from here, the patella to the tibial tuberosity is going to be the patellar ligaments. And they put kind of tendon in parentheses here. I will take either answer because technically this quadriceps muscle that runs into the quadriceps tendon basically kind of runs through the patella and then ends up running into this patellar ligament. So you can either put patellar ligament or patellar tendon because technically both are correct because that patella kind of, the bone sits in between. So again, I'll take either for that. And then here, as we go, this is kind of a goofy view. So let me explain this one because what they've done is they've taken the patellar ligament, the quadriceps tendon and the patellar ligament, and they've pulled it back here off of, see, there's the tibial tuberosity where it would attach. So, and they have a little, this is just a little string that they have that attaches it, but they've pulled it back so you can see the anterior portion of this joint, okay? So that's why this, it says patella reflected. That means they pulled it back. They pulled that patella back. So again, here you can see you've got the fibula here. So that means this is the lateral meniscus. Tibia is on this side. So this is the medial meniscus. And then here is where you can finally see that anterior cruciate ligament. That's going to run again across that, the knee joint cavity. Again, most of that ligament being on the anterior side. So there's, and many of you have probably heard about, you know, people that have torn their ACL and had to repair it. Now you can see why it's such a difficult repair. Again, it's running through that joint cavity. It's running through the middle of that joint cavity. So it's a challenging one. So again, this is just a posterior view. So always orient yourself. Here's the fibula. So that's the lateral side. There's the lateral collateral ligament, lateral meniscus, tibia's here, medial collateral ligament, medial meniscus. So again, those are the easy ways to like quickly orient yourself. And then here is the coxal joint or the hip joint. And you can orient yourself to the bones. Here's the ilium, right? Here's going to be the ischium, and here's going to be the pubis right here. Okay. So again, this ligament running from the pubis bone right here to the femur is going to be the pubofemoral ligament. This ligament here running from the ischium, and you know that this is the ischium because this is the ischial tuberosity, your sit bones, right? So this is the ischiofemoral ligament, and here we have the iliofemoral ligament running from the ilium to the femur. Okay. So again, hopefully this quick video will make these easy to remember. If you're having any trouble with these, just let me know. I'm happy to set up a short Zoom with you and we can go over them so I can help you kind of orient yourself. Usually the first thing you want to do though, make sure that you orient yourself before you just start writing things down. Orient yourself to the bones, where those bones are, and even try to picture it on yourself so you know what side is lateral, what side is medial, what's anterior and what's posterior. All right, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And like I said, I'm happy to meet with you.